Hi, welcome to my podcast, Talking Travel with Wendy. I travel the globe interviewing really cool people in small hospitality and tourism businesses. Hi, welcome. Today I am with Johnny Molloy, who is an outdoor hiking author of many, many books. And today we're going to be talking about several of them. So welcome, Johnny. Thanks for being here with me.
Thank you, and I'm glad to share my love of nature with you and everybody else.
Yeah, and thanks for welcoming in your home. We're here in Tennessee, in Johnson City. If you haven't been here, super beautiful town. We drove through here, and it just reminds me of one of those older towns that maybe the stagecoaches.
I hear you. Well, the oldest town in Tennessee is only 5 miles away, Jonesboro.
Awesome.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah.
So hiking. Have you always been a hiker?
No, actually, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I lived in the same house my whole life. Typical kind of growing up. Then I went to the University of Tennessee, and I met a guy at UT, and he took me backpacking one time, and I thought, this is the absolute coolest thing I've ever done. And since that day in 1982, I have been an avid backpacker, paddler, camper, bicyclist, outdoor lover in general.
Okay, so I bet you've seen it all.
Well, there's more places to go than you can do in a lifetime, even if you're an outdoor rider.
Okay.
So I have found. Okay. But I was very lucky because the Smoky Mountains National Park is only 35 miles from University of Tennessee in Knoxville.
Awesome.
And so I started going backpacking. It was real easy to do while I was going to UT. And I graduated from the University of Tennessee and became a backpacking bum, kind of like a ski bum.
Right. So what year was that?
That was 1987.
Okay.
So I bartended on Friday and Saturday night, and then I went backpacking during the week.
That's so cool.
And it was really great, and I just loved it. And there's over 100 campsites in the Smokies, 900 miles of trails. So there was a lot of terrain to cover right off the bat.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to me, I was actually training for my future occupation. But my mother didn't think so. She wanted me to get a job. John, get a job.
Yeah.
But, so
That's us parents.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking to.
So I was very fortunate that a buddy of mine that had a degree in journalism from University of Tennessee would go backpacking with me. And he said, one time he said, hey, you ought to write a book about your adventures and I'll help you. And my degree was actually in economics from UT. And it turns out I did that. And so I started writing down these stories literally by longhand.
Okay.
My buddy would type them up and edit them, and we'd go over them. And this was before the internet. So after we got them kind of ready, we went to a bookstore and looked up some publishers and got their addresses and sent them query letters. Okay. Are you interested in this True Adventure Stories in the Smokies book? And it turns out one said, yes, we are interested. And the other one said, we're not actually interested in that, but based on your experience, are you interested in writing a hiking guide for the Smoky Mountains?
Okay.
So lo and behold, I was blessed to get 2 books with 1 query letter.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the chute. And then I told my family I was going to be an outdoor rider.
And what did they say?
They laughed. So then I went and this was, over time was moving on. And so then I got me one of these newfangled laptop computers. I had a contract and I went to the bank and they loaned me $1,700 to get a laptop that at this point probably wouldn't do as much as a watch.
Right.
But I got one of those.
Well, don't you remember they were like the not the laptop, but the desktops were so huge they took up like half of a room.
Yeah, I hear you. So I got that, and I became the bartender that wrote guidebooks, and then I turned in my first couple of books early and as they wanted it, and I became a reliable writer.
Yeah, okay.
And thus was rewarded with other books.
More projects.
Book projects. And so I became the outdoor writer that had to bartend on the side.
Okay.
And then ultimately became a full-time outdoor writer.
Hey, don't knock bartending. It got me through college.
I hear you. Me too. So
and waitressing.
Yeah. So I'm very great, and I turned this into a full-time occupation, and I've been lucky enough to branch out into working with 7 different publishers, hiking guides, camping guides, paddling guides, fishing guides, how-to guides, true adventure stories.
Awesome.
And it's just a great life.
So I found Johnny through this guide. It's called 50 Hikes in Alabama, and I found it at Gunnersville State Park, which is not too far from my house. So one of the ways I was able to make this connection was write him and just say, hey, I'm in Alabama, you're in Tennessee, would you like to chat about hiking? Because I absolutely love to hike as well. Mm-hmm. Every year I try to do a different European Alp. And so last year was the Austrian Alps,
wow.
And the year before was the Dolomites, and then the German Alps. So I'm going back to the Italian ones again this year because we got to help them recover.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm excited about hiking here in America too. And just this weekend we did Jefferson National Park and we did the Cascade Falls and stuff. So you just finished writing a book in North Carolina?
Yeah. Coastal Trails of the Carolinas. One thing about, you're talking about different places. Everywhere is beautiful. You just got to know where to look. Right. Because even, I've written guides from Columbus, Ohio. When I was predisposed, I was thinking, there's not going to be anything good there. Well, guess what? There's a lot of great parks and a lot of great trails that stand on their own. Because if it all looked like the Italian Alps or everywhere, variety of landscape actually enhances the situation. True. Because when I first got into the Smokies, so I was like, Smokies, and nothing's better. But, I was limiting my own vision. Right. And then I've come to realize I've written a Paddler's Guide to Everglades National Park and all these bunch of books in Florida.
Did you see some gators?
I did. and I've learned to.
Was that an adventure guide or was it?
Well, there's actually been a bunch of them, but when you're paddling in Everglades National Park, you're actually part of it. You can paddle on the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. So when you're in a canoe in the Gulf of Mexico, a lot of things can happen.
So I'm gonna have to get that book too because I got to read about the adventures in Florida.
Yeah. So I've written books covering all or parts of 26 different states.
Wonderful.
And I've learned to love them all and enjoy each place for what it is.
Right. Wonderful. Speaking of so many hiking trips, do you have like a particular hiking packing list? Do you do various? Like, do you do all tenting or do you?
No, that's another thing is, not only do I recommend people varying their destinations, but vary your activities.
Okay.
That I'd go canoe camping, I go backpacking, day hiking, car camping,
wonderful,
bicycle camping, because I'm only limiting myself again if I say I'm not doing that or this isn't me, and also I go where the books take me, and a lot of times when I'm working on day hiking guides, I'm car camping. But right now I'm working on a book called Backpacking Tennessee, so I'm backpacking. Oh, but to answer your question, yes, I do have lists, but I still forget stuff. Okay. Every time. I think that's on the last thing on the list, forget something.
Well, I used to do private tours over in Europe when we were living there, and they were small group tours. I only took 6 to 8 people, and they were to off the beaten path destinations, and we stayed at bed and breakfasts and chateaus and things like that. But I was on these trips in Europe. My crew that I would go with would kind of kid me because I would always forget one thing, just one thing. Yeah. And sometimes when you're in Europe, you can't get that one thing that you're looking for. And so you learn to live without. And most of the time it was something that you could live without.
Yeah. Do with what you got.
That's right. And what is it? Necessity breeds ingenuity.
Yep.
And you become...
Because when you're out there backpacking, you got what you got, and that's all you got.
Yep.
And I've been really lucky to go on. I have not hiked the Appalachian Trail, but I have hiked a lot of it, especially in the South. But I did through hike the Florida Trail,
Okay.
and which goes from Miami basically almost to Jacksonville and over toward Pensacola.
Okay.
Did that through hike the Appalachian Trail, but I have through hike the Florida Trail, and it extends basically from Miami area almost toward Jacksonville all the way to Pensacola, 1,100 miles, and wrote a true adventure storybook about it. The funny thing was nobody else had done a true adventure storybook, whereas Appalachian Trail through hikers, there's lots of
right.
But we're very grateful to have the Appalachian Trail because it acts as the spine of a great trail network that extends throughout the East. You know, the trails spur off it, and it's a good thing to have a master path that everybody knows about because it's kind of the diamond surrounded by other gems.
Wonderful.
And when that diamond shines brightly, it shines on those other gems.
What a very well put description.
Good.
I love it.
Good.
There's the writer in you.
That's right. Yeah, that's what they paid me to do.
So, do you have hiking books about trails out west?
No, you know that I've only got one book west of in the West. It was a tent camping. It is a tent camping guide to Colorado. Okay. But as I mentioned, that I've got guides that cover all or parts of 26 states.
Right.
But they're almost from Maine to Texas to Florida.
Okay.
But they're all in the East.
Okay.
So.
And the future plans?
Yeah, just hopefully keep writing. Yeah, but the thing is, if you establish a track record of accuracy and reliability, people will hire you again.
Right.
And to that end, by the way, when I take it very seriously when what somebody's doing this weekend is they got a Johnny Molloy book and they're betting their free time that Johnny Molloy knows what he's talking about. They're betting their money, and maybe the guide isn't too expensive or anything, but their free time is very precious.
Yeah, valuable, absolutely.
And I take it very seriously that there's going to be a lot of people using the Johnny Molloy guide to go hiking and paddling and camping all over the Southeast.
Yeah.
And to that end, I take my job seriously, and I'm a professional and work hard to be as accurate as possible. And I have the reader in mind.
Well, you absolutely do. That was one of the things that I was telling you on the phone, what I loved about the book. It has so much information on it, but just by reading one of the trails, you not only get the GPS coordinates, but also an expectation of what you might find on the trail and the signage and where the trailhead begins and if the trail is a loop or if it's an in and out. And I really have enjoyed this. And for my local Alabama followers, he has a lot in North Alabama, so easy day trips for those people living in North Alabama, Huntsville, Scottsboro area. So definitely take a look at that. But we will have all the links down below, that link to your website and all of the books that you have. It's really exciting because as I was telling you earlier, the hiking culture in Europe is massive. It is how they vacation, and it's how they, and I'm just starting to see like a really big insurgence in America, but I've only been home for 7 months too. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it is growing, and it's, you know, the outdoors is good for your mind, your body, and your spirit. It's a very good activity, just being outside. It's our natural state. The world the outside moves at nature's pace, whereas we're increasingly screen-driven people, and that screen is too fast, and it causes people to speed up, and bad things happen.
Right.
And I'm very at peace, and part of the reason I believe that's the case is that I've averaged over 150 nights out camping for 30 straight years. Yeah, 150 nights a year. And I'm telling you,
that's half a year.
Yeah, that's almost, over 4,500 nights. But the thing is, you just get in tune with nature and enjoy it and be out there, and it's relaxing. Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many hikers who've joined me on a day hike even and said, why am I not doing this more? I feel so at peace and so comfortable. And you might be a little sore the next day because you haven't done anything like it, but in a while. But the feelings that you get when you're out there would stay with you. And I have yet to go with somebody who, after we did it, said, man, I wish I didn't go hiking.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I wish I hadn't gone that paddling trip. Why did I camp? Why? You know, and another thing is, like, say, if you want to, it's a great relationship builder. Because let's say you and I want to be friends and we go see a movie. Well, we're just watching a screen together.
Right.
But yet, if we went on a hike together or camped out or did some experience like that,
Right.
that we create memories. And it's a great way for friends, family, husbands and wives to build relationships and create their own bank of memories. Because my wife and I, that's one thing we love. We look back on all the things we've done together, and it builds the bonds of our relationship.
Yeah.
Because even if it was we had fun or we made it through the storm together, you know, we can make it through the next storm. So it's also a great relationship building tool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm super thankful. My husband goes on the hikes with me too. Not always happy at the beginning, but always happy. But even this weekend, when we were hiking in the Jefferson National Forest, we met a little boy. His name was Orestes, and it was his very first hike ever.
Wow.
And his big brother was taking him out for a hike, and he was the most comical little kid. He kept coming back and joining up, seeing if the little old ladies were going to be okay. And then after our entire hike, we met him in the parking lot, and he said, "Hey, do you want to you want to have some of my snack? We have lots of snacks here."
Yeah.
And he was just super personable, and we would have never met him or had those experiences if we go on the hike.
to make new friends, build old friendships, build relationships.
Yeah.
And so that it's really the and the literal cost of it too is not very much.
Oh my goodness, no.
You know, once you invest in a little gear, and by the way, anybody, if you're looking for gear, try secondhand gear first, borrow some gear from friends to figure out,
advice.
I like this or I don't, get advice from somebody who does. And then when you figure out what you like, then you can invest in your gear. And then once you have your gear investment, the camping and activity costs are very minimal.
We paid $3 per car per day at the Jefferson National Park.
Yeah.
So if you feel like donating more, by all means do, because they're going to need some funding help. But we did. We paid $3 per car, not per person, per car.
Well, recently I went to a movie theater, and it was the first time in a long time, and the contrast was incredible. First off, there's this giant, fast-moving screen, and then there were literally recliners in the theater with these giant drinks. I mean, everything that's not healthy for you. And I'm not a health nut, but I do know what gives me peace of mind, mental, physical, and spiritual health. And it seemed like that movie experience was the antithesis of an outdoor experience where we would hike. And the funny thing is, when you start hiking and getting in the outdoors, it makes you want to be more healthy. It's like it makes you want to eat an apple instead of a cookie.
Right.
And
exactly.
And just experiencing the outdoors and we're called to preserve the outdoors and as a people. And one thing that's important, it's easy to say generically, oh, save the environment, or we want to purchase a new park or protect an area or something like that. It's one thing to generically do it, but when you get out there and you see it and you experience it, the tangibility of it makes you want to help out at a state park or whatever your calling is.
We passed these trees this weekend in the park that literally look like they were alive. Their roots covered a rock. It looked like skin on their roots, like wrinkles on a hand. And I took a picture of it because it is alive.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that trees and fern, and they're just trees, but it's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing. So I had to take like an up close picture of it and show that it had a mind of its own too, by the way that it was growing and grabbing a hold of that rock.
Good.
And then also the fibers and the root, how it was so detailed.
Yeah. So you visually experience that yourself, and even that's another thing. You can watch anything online, but it's important to get out there because not only is there a visual component, there's the smells, senses.
So you're totally right. It's all the senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you get to the waterfall, of course, it was really
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but I got a saying, the outside ain't the inside. So you can sit inside all day long and you'll be warm, dry, and well fed, but you won't be able to experience the great outdoors. So when you do go outside, be able to roll with the punches. Everything's not going to be perfect, but everything's not perfect when you're in the city.
Right.
So be able to roll with the punches and make it an adventure. And when problems crop up, you can work together to solve them.
It's true. It's true. I love the idea of the team building. You know, that you really do have to, whether the trail is easy or light. I do like how now they have a lot of the trails that are being cared and tendered for. They have an opportunity for trails that are a little bit wider, might be a little bit smoother. No matter what age or level, you can still experience a very nice hike. And then they have the more challenging hikes available for those that might want a little bit more of a challenge or want to be closer to the water and are okay with getting their feet wet. So I really do like how it seems like a lot of the parks and trails that are being taken care of. In Huntsville, we have the Land Trust, and they've just purchased another whole protective area, and theirs is a lot of volunteers that come in and help maintain the trails and keep it and or forge them in a really conscious way to keep it right with nature.
Yep. Not only do you want to enjoy it with your friends and family, but you want to bring other people into it. And when you're taking somebody in, taking them on a hike, it's not a thing to say, I'm going to show you what a great hiker Johnny Molloy is. We're going straight up the mountain. You got to think of their experience. You want it to have a good weather day. Listen to them and to their desired experience, and you make them want to come back. It's not a show-off session. So gear and also one added little thing is I always try to bring some kind of food they like. You know, make a good spread for them for lunch, and man, they'll want to go hiking again.
Excellent. So, Johnny, how can people get one of your guides and start hiking?
Yeah, well, my guides are mostly regional, like I said, covering 26 states. So Florida books can be in Florida, and Wisconsin books can be in Wisconsin, and so forth. Everything's available on Amazon.com. Okay. My website, johnnymolloy.com, JohnnyMolloy.
Okay, I'll put that across the screen too, so people can.
JohnnyMolloy.com, and I put my all into them, and I'm thinking about you when I write these books, because I want you to have the best time you can and love the outdoors as much as I do, and enjoy the blessings I've received from the outdoors.
Well said. Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me here today and for talking about hiking and your guides. And I hope to go hiking with you someday.
Well, sounds good. Let's hit the trail.
Okay. Thanks for joining us here for Talking Travel with Wendy. We'll see you soon.